The morning mist hung heavy over Windsor Castle, as Catherine, Princess of Wales, stood at the tall windows of her private sitting room. Her fingers traced the cold glass while she watched the groundskeepers preparing the ancient grounds below. Something felt different today, though she couldn't quite place what it was. The usual bustle of royal life seemed muted, as if the very walls of the castle were holding their breath. William had left early for his scheduled meeting with palace officials, but not before she noticed the tension in his shoulders and the way his jaw tightened when he thought she wasn't looking. After 15 years together, Catherine had learned to read the subtle signs that indicated when her husband was carrying more than his usual burden of royal responsibility. The phone call came at precisely 9:47 a.m. Catherine would remember this detail for years to come, along with the way the sunlight suddenly seemed dimmer as the private secretary's voice delivered news that would reshape their understanding of duty and loss. The elderly woman who had served the royal family for over 60 years, someone who had been a constant presence in their lives, had passed peacefully in her sleep. Mrs. Margaret Thornfield had been more than just a staff member. She had been the one to teach Catherine the intricate protocols of royal life when she first joined the family. Margaret had shown her how to navigate the complex world of state dinners, how to interact with world leaders, and most importantly, how to maintain her authentic self while fulfilling her royal duties. The woman had become a mother figure, offering wisdom during Catherine's most challenging moments as she adapted to life in the public eye. As Catherine absorbed the news, memories flooded back of late evening conversations in Margaret's cozy office where the older woman would share stories of past royal generations while teaching Catherine about the history embedded in every royal tradition. Margaret had been present for William and Catherine's wedding preparations, offering gentle guidance and ensuring every detail honored both tradition and the couple's personal wishes. The loss felt particularly profound because Margaret had been planning to retire in just 3 months. She had spent recent weeks training her replacement and organizing decades of royal records and memories. The woman had dedicated her entire adult life to serving the crown, never marrying or having children of her own, instead pouring her maternal instincts into caring for the royal family members who had become her chosen family. William returned to their private apartments within the hour, his usual composed demeanor showing cracks that only Catherine could detect. They stood together in silence, both understanding that this loss represented more than just the passing of a beloved staff member. Margaret had been a bridge between the old ways of royal life and their vision for a more modern monarchy. The couple knew they needed to attend to immediate arrangements while processing their own grief. There would be a private funeral service, followed by a larger memorial to honor Margaret's decades of service. But first, they needed to inform their children and help them understand why someone so important to their family would no longer be part of their daily lives. That evening, as they sat together in their private garden, Catherine and William began planning how to honor Margaret's memory while continuing the work she had helped them understand was so vital to the monarchy's future. The silence between them was filled with shared memories and an understanding that some goodbyes mark the end of one chapter, while quietly beginning another. The weight of royal responsibility had never felt heavier, yet somehow, in their shared sorrow, they found a deeper connection to their purpose and to each other. Margaret's final gift to them would be the lesson that true service means carrying forward the values and wisdom of those who came before, even when the path ahead seems uncertain. The royal household moved with quiet efficiency as news of Margaret's passing spread through the staff corridors. Catherine noticed how the usually bustling atmosphere had transformed into something more reverent, with conversations conducted in hushed tones and movements that seemed more deliberate and respectful. Even the youngest members of the staff, who had only recently joined the royal household, understood they had lost someone truly irreplaceable. William found himself standing in Margaret's office, now eerily quiet without her familiar presence. The desk where she had worked for so many years was organized with her characteristic precision. Personal photographs of royal family moments she had helped orchestrate lined the windowsill, including one from his and Catherine's wedding day, where Margaret could be seen in the background, ensuring everything proceeded flawlessly. Among her carefully arranged papers, William discovered a leather-bound journal that Margaret had kept throughout her service. The entries revealed her deep affection for the family she had served, along with her hopes and concerns for the future of the monarchy. Her final entry, written just days before her death, expressed her confidence in William and Catherine's ability to lead the royal family through changing times while maintaining the dignity and service that had defined the institution for generations. Catherine was particularly moved when she found a small wrapped package in Margaret's desk drawer, labeled with her name in the older woman's distinctive handwriting. Inside was a delicate silver locket that had belonged to Margaret's own mother, along with a note explaining that she wanted Catherine to have something that represented the strength women could find in supporting their families through difficult times. The preparations for Margaret's funeral became a reflection of her character, simple yet dignified, honoring tradition while celebrating her unique contributions to royal life. Catherine and William worked closely with Margaret's few remaining relatives, ensuring the service would reflect both her professional accomplishments and her personal values of discretion, loyalty, and genuine care for others. As they planned, the memorial service stories emerged from longtime staff members about Margaret's countless acts of kindness. She had quietly helped young staff members further their education, had been present during family emergencies for those who worked alongside her, and had maintained correspondence with former staff members long after they had left royal service. Her influence extended far beyond her official duties, creating a network of people whose lives had been touched by her generosity and wisdom. The children took the news of Margaret's passing with the solemn understanding that comes when young people first encounter the reality of mortality. Prince George, in particular, remembered Margaret as the person who had taught him proper table manners for state dinners and had always carried butterscotch candies in her pocket for moments when royal protocols became overwhelming for a young boy. Princess Charlotte recalled how Margaret had helped her choose appropriate outfits for public appearances, always ensuring she felt confident while respecting royal dress codes. Prince Louis, though younger, had formed his own connection with Margaret, who had been patient with his energetic nature during formal occasions and had created quiet games to help him manage the demands of public appearances. William and Catherine realized that Margaret's death marked a transition point in their own roles within the royal family. She had been their guide through the early years of their marriage and parenthood within the unique context of royal life. Now they would need to become the sources of institutional memory and wisdom for the next generation of royals and staff members. The couple spent long hours discussing how to preserve Margaret's legacy while adapting royal protocols for contemporary times. They understood that her greatest gift had been showing them how to balance respect for tradition with the need for authentic human connection. This balance would become increasingly important as they prepared to take on greater responsibilities within the monarchy. In the quiet moments between official duties, Catherine and William found themselves sharing memories of Margaret's influence on their lives, recognizing that her passing represented both an ending and a beginning in their journey as senior members of the royal family. The day of Margaret's private funeral arrived with an unusual stillness that seemed to envelope the entire Windsor estate. Catherine stood before her mirror, carefully selecting jewelry that would honor both the solemnity of the occasion and Margaret's preference for understated elegance. She chose the pearl earrings that Margaret had complimented years ago, remembering how the older woman had explained that pearls represented wisdom gained through experience and challenges overcome with grace. William was in his study, reviewing the eulogy he would deliver at the service. Writing about Margaret had proven more difficult than any state address he had ever prepared. How could he capture in words the impact of someone who had shaped his understanding of service, not through grand gestures, but through daily acts of quiet dedication and unwavering support? The small chapel on the Windsor grounds had been prepared with Margaret's favorite flowers, simple white roses and sprigs of lavender from the castle gardens she had loved to walk through during her breaks. The attendance was limited to family members, close staff, and Margaret's few surviving relatives, creating an intimate atmosphere that would have pleased her deeply. As the service began, Catherine found herself remembering the first time Margaret had corrected her posture during a formal dinner, doing so with such kindness that Catherine had felt guided rather than criticized. The older woman had possessed the rare gift of teaching through encouragement rather than judgment, understanding that confidence came from feeling supported rather than scrutinized. William's eulogy spoke of Margaret's role as the keeper of royal traditions, but more importantly, as someone who had helped the family understand that tradition served its highest purpose when it connected people across generations, rather than creating barriers between them. He shared how Margaret had taught him that true leadership meant serving others with such consistency and grace that people felt valued and secure in their roles. The most poignant moment came when Catherine rose to read a passage that Margaret had chosen herself years earlier, requesting that it be shared at her funeral. The words spoke of a life well lived being measured not by titles or recognition, but by the positive impact one person could have on others through daily acts of kindness and steadfast commitment to doing what was right. Following the chapel service, the small gathering moved to Margaret's favorite spot in the castle gardens, where a memorial bench was being dedicated in her honor. The inscription, chosen by William and Catherine together, read simply, "In appreciation of a life devoted to service, wisdom, and kindness." Margaret would have appreciated the simplicity and the location, which offered a peaceful view of the ground she had walked daily for 6 decades. As earth was scattered over Margaret's grave in the small cemetery reserved for longtime royal staff, Catherine noticed how the other staff members present seemed to draw comfort from being together. In their shared loss, Margaret had created a sense of family among the people who worked within the royal household, and that family was now saying goodbye to their beloved matriarch. The reception following the service was held in the staff dining room where Margaret had taken countless meals over the years. Stories flowed freely as people shared memories of her wisdom, her dry sense of humor, and her ability to solve problems that seemed insurmountable to others. Catherine and William listened to these stories, learning new aspects of Margaret's character and understanding more deeply how she had touched so many lives. One particularly moving tribute came from a young staff member who revealed that Margaret had quietly helped her complete her university education, providing both financial support and encouragement when family circumstances had made it seem impossible to continue her studies. This revelation led to others sharing similar stories of Margaret's private generosity, painting a picture of someone whose kindness extended far beyond her official responsibilities. As the afternoon progressed, Catherine and William realized that Margaret's greatest legacy was not in any single grand gesture, but in the countless small acts of care and support that had created ripple effects throughout the lives of everyone she had encountered. Her influence would continue through the people she had mentored, the traditions she had preserved, and the values she had instilled in the family she had served so faithfully. The day ended with Catherine and William walking quietly through the gardens where Margaret's memorial bench now stood, both understanding that they had not only lost a cherished friend and advisor, but had also reached a milestone in their own journey as senior members of the royal family. The weeks following Margaret's funeral brought an unexpected challenge that would test everything she had taught William and Catherine about leadership during difficult times. A series of international crises had emerged simultaneously, requiring the royal family to navigate complex diplomatic situations, while the nation looked to them for stability and reassurance. Without Margaret's steady presence and wise counsel, the couple found themselves relying on the lessons she had instilled in them over the years. Catherine discovered Margaret's detailed notes about managing public appearances during times of national uncertainty. The handwritten observations tucked between official protocols revealed Margaret's understanding that the royal family's most important role during crises was to provide a sense of continuity and hope. Her notes emphasized that authenticity in difficult moments mattered more than perfect execution of formal procedures. William was particularly challenged by a delicate situation involving a Commonwealth nation experiencing political upheaval. Margaret had always been his sounding board for such matters, helping him understand the historical context and cultural sensitivities that influenced proper diplomatic responses. Now he found himself studying her carefully organized files on international relations, trying to hear her voice in the detailed background information she had compiled over decades. The absence of Margaret's institutional knowledge became most apparent during the preparation for a major state visit. Catherine and the remaining staff worked tirelessly to ensure every detail honored both British traditions and the customs of their visiting dignitaries. However, they encountered several protocol questions that would have been easily resolved by Margaret's encyclopedic understanding of diplomatic etiquette. In one particularly stressful moment, Catherine found herself overwhelmed by the complexity of arranging seating for a state dinner that would include representatives from 12 different nations, each with their own cultural expectations and diplomatic sensitivities. She sat in Margaret's former office, surrounded by reference books and protocol manuals, feeling the weight of responsibility that Margaret had carried so effortlessly for so many years. William discovered her there late one evening, struggling with details that seemed impossible to master in the time available. Instead of offering immediate solutions, he sat beside her and shared his own struggles with the diplomatic correspondence that required both political awareness and cultural sensitivity. Together, they began to understand that Margaret's expertise had not been built overnight, but had developed through decades of patient learning and careful attention to detail. The breakthrough came when Catherine suggested they reach out to some of Margaret's former colleagues who had retired from royal service in recent years. These experienced individuals, who had worked alongside Margaret for decades, were eager to help during the transition period. Their willingness to provide guidance revealed another aspect of Margaret's legacy: the network of knowledgeable and dedicated people she had mentored throughout her career. Working with these advisors, William and Catherine successfully navigated the state visit, but more importantly, they began to understand how Margaret had built her expertise through collaboration and continuous learning. She had never tried to know everything herself, but had created relationships with people who could provide specialized knowledge when needed. The children noticed the increased stress their parents were experiencing and responded with touching maturity. Prince George began taking on small additional responsibilities around their private quarters, while Princess Charlotte helped with simple tasks that had previously been managed entirely by staff. Prince Louis, though young, seemed to understand that his parents needed extra patience and quiet time to manage their demanding schedules. Catherine was moved when she discovered that Margaret had left detailed instructions for helping the children understand their roles during times of national importance. The notes included suggestions for age-appropriate ways to involve them in royal duties while protecting their childhood experiences. Margaret had anticipated that William and Catherine would need guidance in balancing their children's normal development with their unique responsibilities as young royals. As the immediate crisis period passed, William and Catherine realized they had successfully handled their first major test without Margaret's direct support. The experience had been challenging, but it had also revealed their own growth as leaders and their ability to honor Margaret's teachings while developing their own approach to royal responsibilities. The couple established a new tradition of weekly meetings to discuss upcoming challenges and share resources, creating a support system that reflected Margaret's collaborative approach to problem-solving. They invited senior staff members to contribute their expertise, fostering the same team atmosphere that Margaret had cultivated throughout her career. This period of intense learning and adaptation brought William and Catherine closer together as partners in both their personal relationship and their royal duties, demonstrating that Margaret's influence would continue to guide them even in her absence. 6 months after Margaret's passing, Catherine discovered something extraordinary while organizing the older woman's personal effects that had been stored in a small room adjacent to her former office. Hidden behind a collection of official royal photographs was a series of leather-bound journals that Margaret had kept throughout her decades of service, documenting not official events, but the private moments that had shaped the royal family's character over the years. The journals revealed Margaret's deep understanding of each family member's personality, their struggles with public life, and their growth over time. Catherine was amazed to read Margaret's observations about her own adaptation to royal life, noting moments of uncertainty that Catherine had thought she had hidden successfully. Margaret had seen everything but had chosen to support rather than judge, offering guidance at precisely the right moments to help Catherine develop confidence in her role. William was particularly moved by entries describing his own journey from a young man struggling with the loss of his mother to a mature adult ready to take on greater responsibilities within the monarchy. Margaret had documented his moments of doubt and his gradual acceptance of his destiny, always with compassion and hope for his future. Her notes revealed how she had quietly arranged opportunities for him to develop leadership skills, while protecting him from pressures that might have been overwhelming at various stages of his life. The journals also contained Margaret's thoughts about the future of the monarchy, and her hopes for how William and Catherine would modernize royal traditions while maintaining their essential purpose. She had written extensively about the importance of connecting with ordinary people while fulfilling ceremonial duties, emphasizing that the royal family's greatest strength lay in their ability to represent stability and continuity during uncertain times. One particularly touching section described Margaret's pride in watching Catherine become a mother while maintaining her royal responsibilities. The entries detailed small moments that had impressed Margaret: Catherine's natural warmth with children during public events, her genuine interest in the charitable causes she supported, and her ability to make people feel valued and heard. During brief encounters, Catherine shared these discoveries with William, and together they began to understand the full scope of Margaret's influence on their family. She had not simply managed protocols and arrangements. She had been actively shaping their development as future leaders, carefully creating situations that would help them grow into the roles they were destined to fulfill. The couple decided to use Margaret's insights to establish a more systematic approach to preparing their own children for their future responsibilities. Drawing on Margaret's notes about child development and royal duty, they created age-appropriate ways for George, Charlotte, and Louis to gradually understand their heritage while maintaining normal childhood experiences. Prince George was particularly interested in the stories Catherine shared about Margaret's observations of previous generations of royal children. He began keeping his own simple journal, encouraged by learning that recording thoughts and observations had been one of Margaret's most valuable tools for understanding people and situations. The revelation of these journals prompted William and Catherine to reach out to other longtime royal staff members, encouraging them to share their own memories and insights about serving the monarchy. This initiative created an oral history project that would preserve institutional knowledge for future generations, while honoring the dedication of people who had devoted their lives to royal service. Catherine was inspired to begin her own journal, not focusing on official events but on the personal moments that revealed the human side of royal life. She wrote about the children's questions about their future roles, William's thoughtful approach to balancing tradition with progress, and her own continuing journey of understanding what it meant to serve the crown while remaining true to her own values. The journals also revealed Margaret's concerns about the challenges facing the monarchy in an increasingly connected and transparent world. Her notes discussed the importance of authenticity and genuine service, warning against the temptation to prioritize appearance over substance. These observations became particularly relevant as William and Catherine worked to engage with younger generations who expected accessibility and relevance from their institutions. As autumn approached, marking nearly a year since Margaret's passing, William and Catherine organized a special memorial service to honor not only Margaret but all the dedicated staff members who had served the royal family over the decades. The event brought together current and former employees, creating connections between generations of royal service and emphasizing the continuity that Margaret had valued so highly. The memorial became an annual tradition, with each year focusing on different aspects of royal service and the people who had contributed to the monarchy's evolution. Margaret's journals provided a foundation for these celebrations, offering insights into the personal qualities that had made ordinary individuals extraordinary servants of the crown. Through these discoveries and initiatives, William and Catherine found their grief transforming into a deeper appreciation for the legacy they had inherited and their responsibility to preserve and strengthen it for future generations. 2 years after Margaret's death, Catherine stood once again at the tall windows of her sitting room, but this time her perspective had fundamentally changed. The view remained the same, yet she now saw the grounds below with Margaret's eyes. Understanding the careful planning behind every garden path, the thoughtful placement of seating areas for public events, and the way the landscape itself had been designed to create moments of beauty and reflection for both royal family members and their guests. The memorial bench dedicated to Margaret had become an unexpected gathering place for staff members during their breaks. Catherine often saw small groups sitting there, and she understood that Margaret's influence continued to create community and connection among the people who served the royal household. The simple inscription had inspired similar dedications throughout the castle grounds, creating a network of quiet spaces that honored the many individuals who had contributed to royal life over the centuries. William had successfully implemented several initiatives inspired by Margaret's journals, including a mentorship program that paired experienced staff members with newcomers to the royal household. This system ensured that institutional knowledge would continue to be passed down while creating the supportive environment that Margaret had always fostered. The program had proven so successful that other royal households had requested guidance in establishing similar systems. The children had grown remarkably in their understanding of their heritage and responsibilities. Prince George, now keeping regular journal entries as Catherine had encouraged, had developed a thoughtful approach to observing people in situations that reminded both parents of Margaret's careful attention to detail. Princess Charlotte had begun showing particular interest in the charitable work that occupied much of her parents' time, asking insightful questions about how royal support could make meaningful differences in people's lives. Prince Louis, though, still young, had absorbed lessons about kindness and service through the family's discussions about Margaret's legacy. His natural warmth with people during public appearances reflected the values that Margaret had emphasized, that genuine care for others was more important than perfect protocol execution. Catherine had discovered that her own journal writing had become an invaluable tool for processing the complexities of royal life and for preserving insights that might help future generations. Her entries documented not only official events but the human moments that revealed the true purpose behind royal service. She had begun sharing appropriate excerpts with trusted staff members, creating the same collaborative atmosphere that Margaret had cultivated. The annual memorial service had evolved into a significant event that attracted attention from historians and royal observers worldwide. The focus on honoring dedicated service had resonated with people far beyond the royal household, inspiring similar recognition programs in various organizations. Margaret's belief in acknowledging the contributions of people who worked quietly behind the scenes had found expression in ways she could never have anticipated. William's leadership style had matured through the challenges of the past 2 years, incorporating Margaret's emphasis on listening carefully and considering multiple perspectives before making important decisions. His public speeches now reflected a deeper understanding of the monarchy's role in providing stability and hope during uncertain times, drawing on lessons Margaret had taught through example rather than instruction. The couple's relationship had deepened through sharing their grief and working together to honor Margaret's memory while building their own legacy. They had learned to rely on each other's strengths while supporting each other through moments of uncertainty, creating a partnership that balanced personal love with professional collaboration. As Catherine reflected on the transformation that had occurred since Margaret's death, she realized that the older woman's greatest gift had been teaching them to find meaning in service to others. Every public engagement now carried deeper significance because they understood how their presence could provide comfort, encouragement, or simply a moment of connection for people facing their own challenges. The silent goodbye they had shared with Margaret at her funeral had indeed marked a royal moment, but not in the way they had initially understood. It had marked their transition from being guided by others to becoming guides themselves, from learning about service to embodying it fully, from following traditions to thoughtfully adapting them for contemporary needs. Margaret's influence would continue through the countless people whose lives she had touched, through the systems and traditions she had helped preserve and evolve, and through the family she had served with such dedication. Her legacy lived not in grand monuments or official recognition, but in the daily acts of kindness, wisdom, and service that she had modeled and that now characterized the approach William and Catherine brought to their royal responsibilities. The morning mist still gathered around Windsor Castle, but Catherine now understood that such moments of quiet beauty were opportunities for reflection and renewal, gifts that Margaret had helped her learn to recognize and cherish as essential elements of a life devoted to serving others.